Hello, this is an assessment before tuning this Chappell grand piano, 5 foot long, 1909. The client's kindly allowed us to video this assessment, which we like to do before we tune a piano when it's the first time we've tuned it, just to see what other work might need to be done on the piano. And it has been restored, as you can see. That's definitely not the original, and the casework is a black finish, and whether it was black originally, it's difficult to know, but this is certainly like a modern black finish and very beautiful. There's the odd scratch on it here and there, but I think the client's mostly interested in the technical side of it. So the casework's in quite good condition. And the key tops, well, they're ivory key tops, an 85 note, and you can see that some of them have been taken off and stuck back on and some replaced. But they're all functioning very well. So in terms of a functional musical instrument, it's not really an issue. But if this was the piano that we were going to sell, we actually replaced these ivories with a modern finish, because replacing ivory is a common thing to do these days, because there's a problem with ivory when you sell and when you export and so on. But obviously it's nice to keep the original ivory if you can. The piano has been restrung and extensively restored. These are obviously larger tuning pins. That's my standard small size, medium size lever, and it fits quite high up on these. It does work on these pins. They're one or two sizes up. When they're restrung like this, you very often find the bottom bass ones are much larger, but in this case I think seem to be in the same size, and the job seems to be well done. And the piano is at pitch, and the tone of it is slightly out of tune, as you can hear. Definitely needs tuning. But the general tone is very full, as one of the best grand pianos of this size, really, these new style Chappells. By the way, the new style is written on the logo there, as you can see on the decal. So really pleased to see this piano and very happy to work on it. Very good bass. For the length of the piano, 5 foot, that's an excellent bass. And they're high quality strings, these ones. And the hammers, shanks and rollers have been replaced, which is excellent, so that's good news. And obviously if you do that, then all these hinges are going to be similar if the action's well made, and I suspect this is a Renner hammer, shanks and rollers. If not, it'll be Arbel. And good quality hammers too, so that's good news. But you can see the spacing is out here, so we just have to line them up to the strings before we tune. And some of them are actually touching each other. We found one earlier that was, there we are, you can see it's touching, so that's obviously going to stick. So that might have been a change in humidity, usually what causes that. So that's obviously something that needs doing. One of the works that needs doing. General regulation, fine regulation needs doing on the action. And in fact, the hammer blow, they're too far away from the strings. So that could be, they're about 50, 47 would be better. But the action doesn't feel too bad. The main issue is the spacing of the hammers here, which is obviously something we're going to address. So we need to space them to the strings, and then mark. What we'll do in this case is just mark on the right hand side if it needs moving to the right, left if it needs moving to the left. So we did notice there's a squeak on the rollers here, so as you press the key you can hear the squeak, and that's because the roller needs to be lubricated with talc. New rollers are always lubricated with talc, so the simple way of doing that, you can use your finger for this, which I tend to do. If you're in the trade and use a different method, which I'm sure you do, then love to hear from it. But you can rub it in nicely with that. I think my colleague uses sandpaper, to very thin, fine sandpaper, to just work it in a bit. But that will stop it from squeaking, hopefully. Let's try it. There we are. Not squeaking anymore. So that's a job that needs doing. Whenever you put rollers on, you need to put talc on them as well. So to get the hammer spaced out properly, we're just going to look at them, and you can see this hammer here. That's more or less all right. It is hitting nicely. If you want to really straighten that up a little bit more, that's possible. But I think those two will be fine. But this one's missing, as you can see. It's too far to the right. So I'm going to mark on the key here that we need to go off to the left. A little mark on the key there, off to the left. And so on with all of the others. In most cases, it's possible to move the hammers with this hammer spacer here, as you can see the hammer moving. And you don't need to take the action out to do that. But we did find that this doesn't fit very well here, so we did find that it's probably better to mark them with chalk, and then when we've spaced them properly, we can rub the chalk marks out. So here's the assessment of the piano, and the main work that needed doing was hammer spacing. They clearly weren't, they were sticking against the next hammer and weren't hitting all three strings properly. Tuning and voicing, that's obviously something we'll also do. The weight of the keys is roughly all as roughly as it should be. I think lubricating the rollers, funny enough, can often have an effect because it feels smoother and makes it to feel slightly lighter. So obviously that doesn't actually reduce the weight, but it does make the action feel smoother. And those are the main jobs that need doing. We could do other things, cosmetic work as well, but I think in this case the client wants the piano to work as well as possible as a musician. He's a musician playing it. So thank you very much for listening. I hope that's helpful, and if you would like us to assess a piano, then please do let us know. So that's a high quality Chappell grand piano, and really as good as any German grand piano. I'm very fond of the Chappell new style pianos. And the piano's been restored generally very well indeed. So there's a few things we need to tidy up, and I hope that's been helpful. If you do want a piano tuned, then we like to do an assessment before the first tuning, because there's very often work to do on a piano that we can find as we do the assessment, and we like to make this sheet, make sure we go through everything. Aspects like moth is quite common, for instance, in pianos, and the next assessment I'm going to do, the client said, I think there's moth in the piano, so that's very sad. If you can obviously try to prevent moth coming into piano. We have got other videos about that, but it's quite common, especially if your piano has not been used for a long time. Then it's in a room, people notice that moths are starting to eat away in that room, so very important. At the moment it's quite out of tune, so but it's a beautiful piano, and we're very fond of these.